What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We are back doing another preview video. It's going to be the first one of the Six Nations 2022. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen these preview videos before, what we do is we chuck on a game of rugby in the background of the teams they're going to be playing in real life, and then over the top we talk about the official teams that have been announced. We're going to pop them on screen for you guys and you can go through them with me. We're going to go through all the players who we think is going to do well, who we think is going to do badly, and finally we give a score prediction for what we think the outcome of the game might be. The first one is going to be between Ireland and Wales. It's set to be a really good game, so let's get this game kicked off and underway. Alrighty, Johnny Sexton will get us kicked off. We'll kick off to the right. We've got a bit of wind behind us. We'll set up for a little bomb and we'll see if we can reclaim the ball. Doesn't look like it. No, we're not going to get it. Right, so we're now going back round to the Six Nations. Six Nations last year was so much fun to do videos on. I'm really looking forward to doing them again this year. So the first game, a huge game. Wales versus Ireland in Ireland. It's going to be the current Six Nations champions versus the team that I probably think had the best overall year maybe last year. I think Ireland towards the end of the year had a superb final couple of games for them. So going into this game now, let's start off by talking about Wales first. I have enough to rant about when we talk about Wales in these games. So Wales last year, of course, like I just said, managed to win the Six Nations, even though last year I think I predicted them to finish third or fourth. I can't remember what I ended up picking. They ended up having a really good year. Now, there was certainly some controversial games. There's an awful lot of red cards. Wales playing a lot of games against 14 men and barely squeezing out some of those games. And I was quite surprised that they got away with some of those wins. But they did manage to come on top, and they nearly could have got a grand slam had it not been for a Corey Hill knock-on against France, for anyone who saw those breakdown videos of those games. So Wales had a really good Six Nations by all accounts, and then towards the rest of the year it didn't really go their way. The summer tour wasn't very impressive, and then their autumn tour did better. All the games went exactly how I thought were going to go. They lost to New Zealand, lost to South Africa, managed to beat Australia. So, they're going into this game fairly average. However, they are going to be coming into this with a lot of injuries. So there's going to be a lot of questions around how well they're going to be able to do against Ireland. So starting off, let's take a look at the team. We'll begin, of course, with the forward. Starting off here, we have Wyn Jones, Ryan Elias, and Tom Francis. This is not a bad front row. I did wonder how this Six Nations is going to go. There's a lot of injuries now in this Wales team. I've seen different reports. I've seen anything from 16 to 21 injuries. It depends on what sort of sources you look at. I think this is probably the best front row they have. Ryan Elias's throwing in the lineouts last year was awful. It was truly quite painful to watch. So hopefully he's managed to work on his lineouts a little bit. It was certainly struggling a little bit. I have seen some games that he's been playing at club level. There's a little bit of improvement, but still not what I want to see. I think we are going to be missing Ken Owens quite a lot in that front row. Wyn Jones, of course, having a superb year last year. I think he was my prop of my loose head prop. I got it wrong there. Loose head prop of the tournament last year. Very, very impressive. So looking forward to see him. Moving back towards the locks, Will Rowlands will be coming in that 4 shirt and Adam Beard at the 5 shirt. Now, of course, no Alan Wynne. I think Alan Wynne's career is in all sorts of jeopardy. Of course, he had that injury with the Lions, had another injury with Wales. Same shoulder. He's going to be struggling a lot. Now, locks are hard to come by in Wales, or, international standard locks. Certainly struggling to find some big replacements there for me, really. Will Rowlands is still a bit hit or miss for me. Still gives away an awful lot of penalties that I don't think he needs to be giving away. Adam Beard has improved greatly. Actually, he had a really good Lions tour. I was quite impressed with how he got on. And even in the Six Nations and further on, his ability to disrupt mauls from a line-out is very, very good. So hopefully they'll work together. Hopefully Will Rowlands can just keep those penalty counts down and be my main aim there. But again, probably the best 2 locks you could pick out of the team. Looking at the back row, Ellis Jenkins at 6, Tame Basham at 7, and Aaron Wainwright at 8. Now, this is going to be an interesting setup again. Injuries galore here. No Tipperick, no Navidi. I think Moriarty starting on the bench rather than starting in this front. So I think as a back 3, this is still fine in this back row. Ellis Jenkins is playing good rugby at the minute. I did see him get a carded the other week, though. I don't know what that was about. He just sort of shouldered someone in the face. So hopefully he doesn't do any more of that. Tame Basham is playing really well for a man who has not got a lot of caps in this Wales team. I'm really enjoying watching Tame Basham play. The jackal rates that he has, and just in the breakdown situation, he is a bit of a monster. So very glad to be seeing that. I mean, one thing Wales has always done an awful lot is have very good flankers in terms of the breakdown. Sam Warburton, Tipperick, Navidi. There's a long, long list of very, very talented players. So Tame Basham slowly moving into that position as well. Really nice to see him. And Aaron Wainwright starting in that number 8 shirt. I think that's probably a good move. I know in the Dragons he's done a bit of switching around. He sometimes plays 6, he sometimes plays 8. Personally, for me, I don't mind him in the 8 shirt. I don't know where I prefer him, actually. I've seen him have good games in either. I quite like him at 8, just because it allows him to run a little bit more with the ball. He does actually have quite a good running game. Defensively, he's pretty sound. Maybe not so much in terms of the turnovers and stuff, but as a number 8, I actually quite like him in terms of he definitely finds some gaps. He's got a bit of pace on him as well, so not a bad move. From 1 to 8, not bad. This is about as good as I think most of us would expect. I think if you were picking your own Wales team from the team that got announced, I think this is probably the 1 to 8 I would have had in this exact order. So maybe you would have had Dylan Lewis in there, not sure. You know, the couple of switches. Some people have different preferences, but I think that's about as they could do. Looking towards the backs, then let's start off with the halfback partnership. Thomas Williams and Dan Biggar. Dan Biggar taking over as captain has already come under a little bit of fire from everywhere. I was a bit surprised to see Dan Biggar pick up the captaincy for this. I did think Ellis Jenkins would be much more in the running for captaincy, but going with Dan Biggar, just got to hopefully control himself a little bit, not get too much on the ref's nerves. He is quite a vocal player, as most fly halves are. Anyone who's ever played rugby, you know. Fly halves certainly enjoy letting them talk a lot. So hopefully you can keep that under control and just talk to the referee when it needs to be. That's one thing that Alan Wynne always does so well, is talks to the ref when he knows he needs to talk to him, not just saying that every single breakdown is a penalty for whatever reason. So hopefully keeps that under control and leads from the front a bit. Thomas Williams didn't have a good year last year. I really thought going into last year he was probably the first choice scrum half for Wales. Gareth Davis is struggling a little bit as well, but he managed to go for the Lions, didn't have a terrible Lions. So Thomas Williams, I think, got to step up a bit. I think scrum halves, considering the skill and talent level we have in Wales, I certainly think the scrum halves are underperforming slightly. Looking forward to see maybe some other people in this scrum half shirt over the course of the Six Nations just to test out some different configurations. Back towards the centres then. Big calls here. Nick Tompkins on the inside centre at 12 and Josh Adams in 13 in the outside centre. I don't know why Pivac loves this move for Josh Adams to go at 13. It feels like such a waste of talent to me. Now, people can switch between different positions in centre. It works. George North, I thought, actually worked quite well, mainly down to his size. Elliot Daly for England, I think, is playing much better at 13 than he did at 15, or at least in the last year anyway, which certainly didn't play well at 15 then. But this for me is such a weird suggestion here. I also don't understand why at 13. Nick Tompkins is very good at 13. Owen Watkins also starting on the bench, who can play either position, but I quite like him in that 13 shirt. There's 2 people I would pick ahead of Josh Adams here in this 13 shirt. I don't really know what the choice of this is. He's a very, very talented winger. His defence has been improving. His running game is superb. He's got the highest record tries of all time for any single line series. Josh Adams is on fire on the wing. Why move him to centre? Not really sure. Not sure if this is a good move for me. If you're an Ireland coach, I'm looking at this hole directly there. I'm going straight up that centre, smashing everyone through as much as possible. I'm not sure how that will hold up. And finally, towards the back 3, Lewis Rees-Zammit in the 11 shirt, Johnny McNichol in 14, and Liam Williams in that fullback shirt. Rees-Zammit moving around a lot between right and left wing, but of course he's got the talent. He can show off. He can play on either wing. I don't think that's a bad move. I'd put him in that 11 shirt because Johnny McNichol far more confident in that 14 shirt. Liam Williams a fullback. Yeah, again, I would say first choice there. I mean, Johnny McNichol can play fullback if you really need him to, so there's quite a lot of utility, I guess, in this back 3, but I think there could be a little bit of work maybe needed here. Personally, for me, I probably would have liked to have seen Johnny McNichol on the bench and have Josh Adams in that 14 shirt, and then that way Johnny McNichol could come on for either wing or at fullback, whether it be through injury or through a player not performing well enough. I think that would have maybe been slightly better coverage rather than moving people to different positions, but we'll see how they get on. And then finally, because we are now into the second half, we'll check out the replacements. So we've got the debutant Lake going to come in here. Big game to start your Wales career against Ireland at the Aviva Stadium. Big call, but good luck to him. Thomas and Dylan Lewis going to be the replacement props. Davis and Moriarty coming in there. Now, I did see Moriarty on the weekend play. Thought he had a really good game, actually. Again, a couple of penalties here and there, but in terms of getting over the line, smashing through players, getting tries, he's showing off. He's showing that he wants to be in this team. It's nice to see. I do kind of hope he comes in at the 8 shirt. I know he plays fine at both 8 or 6, but I do prefer him at 8 over 6, so hopefully he gets in there. Maybe they'll put him on at 8 and move Aaron Wainwright to 6. Maybe they'll put him on at 6 and have the Dragons combo that they have between the two of them. Not sure, but hopefully that'll work out okay. Gareth Davis going to be the replacement scrum half. Callum Sheedy, the replacement fly half. And then, like I said before, Owen Watkin going in there in that replacement centre. So 1 to 23. It's about as good as Wales probably have, given all their various injury concerns going in there. You know, I don't think it's necessarily the strongest team that Wales have, but it's probably the strongest team they have available to them. Personally, for me, probably would have had Owen Watkin on at 12, moved Nick Tompkins to 13, moved Josh Adams back to his 11 shirt, put Zammit on at 14, had Johnny McNichol start on the bench for the coverage, or maybe even have Johnny McNichol play fullback, and then have Liam Williams start on the bench and come on for wing or fullback as well. I'm not sure how they're going to do substitutions, because as soon as you try and put Owen Watkin on, unless you do a direct sub for Nick Tompkins, which I don't think they do, I think they'd put him on at 13, you're going to immediately move about 4 people around just to put Owen Watkin on. So I think that could disrupt the team a little bit, but I think Ireland will be relatively happy with that Wales team that's come out. Talking of which, we need to talk about Ireland, who last year had a slightly underwhelming Six Nations, I would say. I thought they could have done better. They barely lost to Wales, which is a shame for them. And then had some really good games going on through the rest of the tournament. Had a really good game against Scotland. Thought they played well against England. Of course, they've gone on, had a really good summer tour. Had a really good autumn tour, managing to beat New Zealand in a very combatant game, which was really nice to see. It wasn't like a dishevelled New Zealand team. It wasn't a B-team New Zealand team. It was a starting team at full force, and they managed to come away with that win and looked like they actually beat them in that game, which was really nice to see. So Ireland will be riding high. I've put them in my prediction video as the favourites to win the Six Nations, even though maybe France will win. Maybe England will win. I don't know. It could go either way. I said Wales would win last year. What do I know? So we are now getting on in this game, so I'll chuck on screen for you guys the forwards we have for Ireland, starting off in this front row. Andrew Porter starting off in that number 1, Ronan Kelleher in the number 2, and Tadhg Furlong in that tight head position in 3. This is a good setup. I mean, now we've talked a couple of times now about how Andrew Porter can swap between both the loose head and the tight head. I think he's a very, very talented player, but Tadhg Furlong certainly not going to be losing that tight head shirt anytime soon. Big man gets himself through every tackle. At least 2 men to tackle that boy. I wouldn't want to tackle him. So I think that's a really, really strong front row. Maybe there's a couple of calls here. Maybe people would want Herring over Kelleher, but you know what? It's fine. I think Kelleher will do certainly a very good job. In the lock department, Tadhg Beirne starting with James Ryan. Nice to see Tadhg Beirne getting a start. For me personally, he's my sort of world player of the year last year. I thought he was absolutely superb. Tadhg Beirne, looking forward to see him. Of course, can play 4, 5 or 6, equally as good as each other. James Ryan, not the captain for this game, is going to go over to Johnny Sexton, but you know, I'm sure he's been improving over the last couple of years. Really enjoying seeing his game improve, so looking forward to seeing him in this game as well. Keelan Doris in at the 6 shirt, Josh van der Fleer at 7, and Jack Conan taking over that 8 shirt now. Of course, will now probably be the first choice, I imagine, now for that 8 shirt, with, of course, some retirements going on in the Ireland team from last year. This is a good 1 to 8 to me. This is very, very solid. A lot of height, a lot of very technical-based players. That line-out specifically is going to be a bit of an action area, I think. Tadhg Beirne and James Ryan, both good jumpers. I don't think Keelan Doris is afraid to get in the air as well. Jack Conan, good running player. Josh van der Fleer is a big pick and go carrier as well, so I think there's going to be a bit of a nitty gritty game. It's going to be a lot of forwards based in this game, and I think this is a very good way to do it. I think this Ireland team looks huge. Looking towards the Irish backs in the halfback partnership, Jameson Gibson-Park getting the call over Conor Murray. I thought Gibson-Park was very good last year. Nothing wrong with this call to me. Johnny Sexton taking over that captaincy, of course, always going to have that number 10 shirt, so nothing wrong there. Mac Hansen making his debut on the left wing. Big call, you know, against Wales. You know, they're not a team you want to necessarily be making a debut against. You might want to play against a lower rated team, but you know what? Good call for him. Hopefully he has a really good game. Bundy Aki and Gary Ringrose, of course, in that centre partnership. You know, this is the standard now. We see this every week for Ireland. Personally, for me, Bundy Aki and Gary Ringrose going up against Nick Tompkins and Josh Adams. Oh man, I'm sending Bundy Aki into that centre partnership every time. Smash through both of them, wait for a double tackle, and you'll have the room for Gary Ringrose just to run through. I've got a real issue with that Wales centre partnership, and I really hope I'm wrong. And then finally, Andrew Conway in the 14 shirt and Hugo Keenan in that 15 shirt. So it's an experienced backline for the majority, bar maybe the left wing. There's a lot of speed. I've got a feeling, by the way this is looking, they're going to basically be using the forwards a lot more than the backs probably, and then using the backs for a bit of explosive power probably later on in the game. But as of 1 to 15, looking forward to see how these boys get on. And then finally, we've got to talk about the replacement. So we've got Dan Sheenan, Cian Healy and Finlay Beelum coming in there. That's a good actual replacement front row as well. Again, experience in this team is not hard to come by. Ryan Baird and Peter O'Mahony going to be the replacement forwards in there. Interesting, they've gone for the 5-3 split. I was a little bit thinking they might go for a 6-2 just to overwhelm them in the forwards a little bit. Colin Murray, Joey Carberry and James Hume. So, this is a big Ireland team. It's not as big as I expected it to be, but they do have a big game going on next week, of course, so they couldn't go fully out for this one, but they'll certainly want to get off to a good start. In terms of a score prediction for this game, I think the score you guys will be seeing on screen probably might not be too far off in terms of the score difference. As much as I want to support Wales through this, I've got a feeling Ireland are going to take this one a little bit. I'm going to say Ireland to win by 14. I'm going to say in this game. I think Ireland are going to get a couple of tries in there. I don't think there'll be a losing bonus point, unfortunately for Wales. I think this Ireland team is good. They'll want to get the Six Nations off to a good start, especially playing at home. They'll be wanting to make a big impact against a bit of an injured Wales team. But of course, I'm but one man on the internet talking nonsense about rugby. So make sure you guys drop down in the comments who you think will win, what you think the score difference will be, whatever you think is going to go on in the game. I'm really looking forward to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Of course, we will also be doing the Fantasy League that's going on alongside it. If you haven't already signed up, make sure you sign up within the next 2 days or it will be quite hard to catch up. There is an entire video about how to join. It's on screen. It's all there. Go and look at the channel. You can join in with the Super Bowl Fantasy. It's a lot of fun to join in. We've already had loads of people signing up, which is really, really fun to have so many people involved. And of course, we will be doing one of these videos for all of the games going on across the Six Nations. So make sure you subscribe just to keep up to date with all of the latest videos as they come out. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.